So today I am going to talk about brushes. I'm getting a lot of requests about how do I use this brush? How do I use that brush? What is the best brush to use for this or that? The video, I hope, is not going to be too long. I'm not going to talk and give too much of an introduction, so let's get right into it. Again, we're talking about brushes. Yes, brushes. So I'm going to just talk about in detail, but as much detail as I can on what brushes are good for, what brushes should be used for what eyes. Let's start with the eyes. Now, when you look at eye brushes, they usually are smaller in size. What would you use certain eye brushes for? Think of it this way. Brushes that are flat are used for the flat area of the eye. Where is that? That is your lid. So, for instance, I'm going to pull out a couple of flat brushes. So these are 5 flat brushes. Now these are from MAC. I have some brushes from e.l.f. and I also have brushes from Michaels, which is a craft store, which a lot of people like to use. I know you've seen that. Those brushes that are from Michaels, they are a little more rougher because they're really not for the face. They're for, painting on a canvas. I do like certain brushes in there, so you just want to feel them. Make sure the brush is not too hard that you are using, but you want to also make sure that brushes that you get are not too soft, because it's not going to really pick up a lot of product. You want to kind of have it in between. I also like natural hair brushes, but if they are synthetic, you want to make sure that they feel as close to real as possible. Let's talk about, say, this 252 shader brush. This is from MAC. Very similar to the e.l.f. brush, but not exact. It's their flat brushes, and this one is that Michaels brush. I also have a 239, so now I have 6 brushes. Any of these brushes can be used for the flat area of your lid. So I always like to use my shadow and tap the side of the brush, not so much the top of the brush. Now, if you notice, I'm holding my brush like I would be writing, like a pencil, like my pen. That's how I choose to hold my brush. And I do hold, when I'm doing my makeup, I hold my hand a little bit further back on the brush. When you hold it too close, you're gonna get too much of an intense look on your eye, too much pigment on your eye. You wanna start off soft and just keep adding. So hold it back, and that keeps it soft. So I use this on the lid area of my eye. Pat, 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 pat. Remember how I always say, you don't swipe so much of your makeup, because what you're doing is swipe on, swipe off, swipe on, swipe off. You're defeating the purpose. Pat it on, get the coverage, get the pigmentation to really pack onto the lid, okay? Another thing that you could use these flat brushes for, and when they're smaller, they kind of go a little bit more of a long way. So you can also, if you want to, use it for underneath the brow. You can use any of these. Even though the 252 is a little bit wider, it's okay to use a brush like that for underneath the brow. So putting your light color right underneath your brow. It's fine. Underneath your brow, sorry. It's fine. Just like that. Any of a flat shader brush that you have, no matter where it's from. Because I worked at MAC, a lot of us use certain brushes for certain things, and a lot of our trainers would try to get us out of using certain brushes for certain things. I didn't show you any blending brushes, but I will. I have quite a few blending brushes, so I'm adding more brushes to the bunch. Don't let that intimidate you. It's okay if you just have one brush, because I could do this look with this one brush, but I'm just trying to show you what brushes are used for. Blending brushes. Again, these are smaller brushes, so they are used for the eye. So I have here a 217 from MAC. I also have a 224. You know that you can also get brushes very similar to these from Sigma brushes, or Sigma brushes, and they are very equivalent, very comparable to MAC brushes. Now, in using this, if you look at the video of this look, I don't know if this look is going to be posted before or after. I like to use this brush right here, the 224, which is very similar to the 217. But I like to use this 224 because the brush, it's not as dense as the 217. When a brush is more dense, it means it's more compact. It means it's a little bit more stiffer. if that makes sense. So it's going to be picking up a little more of your product, and the application is going to be a little bit different. You're going to get a softer look with something that's not as dense, a little more fluffier. The 224 is a little more fluffier. So I like to put my transition color with my 224. Is it okay to use it for your lid? Absolutely. But I'm just showing you what I like to use the brushes for. So I like to kind of blend out the look. And I do that circular motion, circle, circle, windshield wipe, circle, circle, windshield wipe, and just really putting my transition color into my crease. This is okay to use underneath the brow. This is okay to use in your crease. Really, all brushes that are used for the eye, you can use it all over the eye. Whether you're smoking something out underneath to smoking out your side, you can really use all brushes for everything. I've seen makeup artists use a brush like this to apply all their colors and then even pack on that smokiness, that dark color they're packing on. And it may look checkered on the eye. And what I choose to do is use something to blend it all together. And you can see that in my blending video. I've seen makeup artists blend with this. It is okay. It is a little more difficult, but it is okay if you only were to buy this brush. That goes to my next point that I want to talk about. If you can't afford to buy a bunch of brushes, which one is essential for the eye? A brush like this. A $2.39 if you want to go more high end, or if you want to go to e.l.f., it's only $1. This flat shader brush from e.l.f. is perfect. I love this brush. I actually carry this in my kit when I'm going to do weddings because I do a lot of looks with popping this on the lid, under the brow, different things like that. Love this brush. So these are the essential eye brushes. I will show you this angled brush. You've probably seen a lot of these and people are saying, what is this for? This is good if you want to do that smoky look. Now, the old-fashioned way, if you look, or really some companies still have it where they say put that V in the outer corner because essentially it does look like a V in your outer corner. Well, this is really good because it kind of tucks into that area just like that, a V shape. So buying a nice angled fluffy brush is good for that. These are great eyeshadow brushes. Okay, any questions that you have, make sure that you message me and I'll make sure to get back to them. And I just want to say real quick, this Google Plus is so confusing to me. I don't understand it. My fellow YouTuber and such a wonderful person, Miss Creative Diva, has been trying to help me with it. I don't really understand it. I sometimes can't message you all back. I don't know why. I get messages like late, and I remember one girl said I never answered her. I didn't even see her message. So I'm working with it. I'm trying to answer all questions when I can. So please bear with me, okay? So now let's talk about eyeliner brushes. These right here are eyeliner brushes, and I hope that you can see these. Now, this one right here is the number 209 from MAC. It's a little bit thicker. So you're going to get a thicker eyeliner look with this. And of course, it's just used for your eyeliner. Just like that. They also have a thinner one, which is the 209. You'll get a more precise liner. You could use it with liquid, and you can use it with cream. You can use it with powder. It's a little more difficult with powder. But if you rather use powder, then I suggest to use these angled brushes. They have the 266, they have the 263. This 269 actually has been discontinued, but I actually like to use a brush like this for my client. That right here is a bigger angled brush. These angled brushes right here, you all know about these. These are really good also for the eyebrow area. Also, these are good if you want to smudge out eyeliner underneath, whether it's a cream, whether it's a powder. You can do a nice smudged look underneath the eye. And something that I love to do is put color underneath my eye. So I'll go out with a green under the eye, a purple, a blue. It's so pretty, and this is what I use for that. Now, there's a 228 brush that MAC has. It's an extremely tiny brush that you can... I've seen a lot of makeup artists really doing beautiful artwork with a very small brush. You can use a brush like this for that. also underneath the brow, something like that, because remember, it is flat and it can be used all over the eye if you like. Now, it would take you a lot more work to use a brush like this, but it is nice, smudging underneath the eye as well. e.l.f. has a really nice one. It's the e.l.f. Studio Angle, or small angled brush. It's their studio line, and it's $3, and it is a really nice bristled brush. You could tell it is synthetic hair, which some of MAC's are as well, but you're gonna get a lot of use out of this as far as the eyebrow is concerned and as far as smudging underneath the eye with a brush like that. Now, I brought this one out because I wanted to show you that this is a brush that I got from Michaels. It is very comparable to the MAC 210 in that the bristles are sharp and pointed, just like the MACs. So if you don't want to spend the money for the MAC, go to Michaels and look at their brushes. They are pretty good. About pencil brushes. Well, I'll just show you this one that I have from eBay, but these are the pointed haired brushes, a little bit thicker than a liner brush, but these are good, again, just to smudge a little bit underneath the eye. Then you have a brush like the 214 from MAC. It's very, very short haired brush. These are good to smudge underneath the eye as well as kind of packing on color in the crease. Maybe put a little bit in the tear duct is also what these could be good for. But mostly what I use these for is really just smudging out liner, powder, or cream underneath the eye. Now I'm gonna move along and talk about foundation brushes. There is so many different foundation brushes that you can use. Try to do a mirror test. This is what we did when I worked for MAC, to show people the advantage of using foundation brushes versus using a sponge versus using your hands to apply your makeup. The mirror test is, this is a mirror. And what you want to do, I'm not going to show you because I don't know how close or how good it's going to show, but put a foundation on your finger and apply it to your mirror. Put your foundation on a sponge, apply it to your mirror. Put your foundation on a makeup brush and apply it to your mirrors. Look at the coverage and how it looks. It's going to be printy for your finger. It's going to be spongy and not as much good coverage with the sponge. But with your brush, you're going to get such an even airbrush look. Trust me. I'm going to show you a few foundation brushes that you can use. This right here is a foundation brush. This can be found at CVS only. This is Essence of Beauty brush. I love this brush. Now, I choose to use this a lot for concealer. So underneath the eye, whether I'm putting a powder underneath my eye, a lighter powder after I've put my cream concealer or liquid concealer underneath my eye, and then I'll put a powder underneath, I will use this. This is really nice. This is also good for painting it onto your face. Now, to me, brushes that are flat like this, even MAC has one, I think it's the 190 brush, to me, it leaves the mark of the brush. So I don't particularly like it as much for foundation, but you can use this for foundation. You just have to make sure it's really, really blended. Makeup is all about blending, whether it's your eyes, your lips, your cheeks, whatever. Blend it in well. I'm going to show you 3 brushes that I have. They are dirty, I'm sorry, but these are from Sigma brushes. These brushes, you know, the flat top kabuki, the angled kabuki, and the round top kabuki. All of these brushes I use for foundation. I use this one especially for powder, the flat top kabuki, but I do especially use the angled kabuki and the round top kabuki for my liquid foundation or cream foundation. You talk about flawless. Today I use the round top kabuki for my foundation that I have on today. I'm wearing NARS Sheer Glow, by the way. These brushes are very nice, and feel free to use my link so you can check out the Sigma brushes. Probably one of the best purchases that I ever made. I really love Sigma brushes. Next type of brush that you can use are these stippling brushes. These MAC sells these, as well as Eyes, Lips, Face, and of course other companies. We call these the skunk brushes, but these are really good because they are mixed with natural hair as well as synthetic hair, and you're gonna get a nice coverage with both of these brushes. So I put foundation on like this, I'm whipping it on my face more. than anything. And you're talking about a wonderful, wonderful look, wonderful coverage with these brushes. And usually how I apply with these brushes, either I'll put a little pump or two on these brushes and just dot it on my face, and then again, you see how I'm holding my brush at the tip and spin it around my face. Such a wonderful look. Other brushes that are good for foundation, of course, these are like the ones I already showed you, the 190s, the 190 from MAC or the one Essence of Beauty, but this is from Dermablend. This one right here is a Pupa brush from eBay. So I got a pack of these brushes, like 30 some brushes in a pack for like $23, and many of the brushes are good. Some of them were not good, but many of them were really good, and I still have them to this day. The only thing is you have to make sure to watch getting any brush, the wood part of the brush wet, because it will chip on. Another type of brush that's really good to use for your foundation are the nice fluffy brushes. Now, many times when I'm working on my clients and I whip that brush out saying I'm going to put on their foundation, they're like, wait a minute, isn't that a blush brush? Yes, they also could be used for blush, or like a contour, but I love to use those type of brushes for foundation. I'll show you. So just pulling a few out. These brushes right here are good for contour as well as foundation. Yes, I constantly use brushes like these on my client. This right here are the 116 and the 120 brush. This is from MAC Cosmetics. These brushes are good. And again, when I'm using brushes like this, I do a circular motion. And remember how I'm holding the brush? Kind of like a pencil, and at the tip of the brush, almost a fourth to the end of the brush, and whipping it on the face. Nice airbrush look. You'll see brushes like this that are a little more pointed. If you can see that, a little more pointed. These are great for contouring, but I also use it and put makeup on, foundation on to the face. Very good for things like that. This again from MAC is a 109 brush. It's like a flat top kabuki. Hope you can see it. And again, it's good for contour. I choose to use this for when I'm putting my powder on my face, put it all over a brush like this. Little Pumpkin Pie 05 uses this powder brush, and I do too, for not only powder on the face, but also for your foundation. Yes, this is a flat top powder brush, but it's really good for putting foundation on. So I recommend getting a brush like that. If you can't afford to get MAC or the higher end, this brush is $3 and it's really, really good. You're gonna get a nice look. And this brush right here, again, like a powder brush used, this is from Victoria's Secret. Back when they were selling brushes, I don't even think they really sell brushes anymore, but this is a good foundation brush as well. Somebody asked me about the MAC 188 brush and the e.l.f. stipple brush. They look very similar, except for this one's dirty, sorry. But these brushes are very, 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 very similar. The one thing I will say that is different is the MAC brush is a little bit more dense. So it's like more hairs, you know, compacted into the brush. e.l.f. one is, the hairs are a little shorter. Are you gonna get the same look? I feel you are. I've used it on my contour and I use it on my foundation, and I think they're both very, 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 very good brushes, except for one is $3 and one is way more than $3. Also, MAC sells a brush called the 130 brush. I feel that the small stipple brush from e.l.f. and the 188 brush are more comparable than the 130 brush because it's really a lot more stiff than this brush. You're just gonna get the same type of coverage and application when you use this stipple brush for your foundation. But you can use this for a contour. But this one right here is so much more dense and the hairs are so much shorter that you're gonna get more of a contour, and you can work your foundation a little bit better with the 130 brush. I also use it for, you know, putting on concealer, different things like that. But also this can be used, the e.l.f. stipple brush can be used for that as well, just to let you know. What about your blush? Well, I've already talked about foundation brushes. Well, many of my blush brushes, they're a little bit bigger, but some of those brushes that I showed you for foundation can be used for blushes, such as my 120 and my 116, and then that Victoria's Secret brush. These are great for blushes. I just dab it once and keep adding to the color and really blend it out into my cheek. Our bigger brushes, like this is the 130 something from MAC. They still sell this one. It's a huge brush. 134, huge brush. You're gonna get quick coverage right onto the cheek. Very big brush, as well as the e.l.f. complexion brush is a wonderful blush brush as well. I like that brush because it's not too soft and it's not too, the bristles are not too hard. So it picks up color very well. And it works very well with the e.l.f. Blushes as well. So these are very good blush brushes. This right here, angled brush, really good for blush, really good for contour. Angled brush, fluffy. This one is from MAC, but you can get a good one actually from Sigma for a little cheaper. Now there's the lip brushes. Now, why would someone want to get a lip brush? I don't really use them. I do use them on clients because it does give you a nice, more precise feel after you've put their lip liner on. For lipstick, it gives it nice, and it kind of actually almost warms the lipstick up, so it's a more smooth application. So that's why you would want to use a lip brush. This also can be used as a lip brush. And this is a MAC 194. It also can be used for concealer. But I like to use a little wider brushes or a little fluffier brushes underneath the eye for concealer. Now to talk about powder brushes. Well, we've pretty much talked about that. This one right here, any type of flat top kabuki, like I've talked about for the one from Sigma, good to put powder all over the face. Any type of flat top or any type of big bristled brush is good for your face. Many people see brushes like this. I call this a fan brush, or I believe it is called a fan brush. What would this be used for? Well, there's a couple of uses for this. I love to put shimmer on to my clients. I love to put shimmer onto myself. Here's a shimmer. This is a Stila Trio Gold Glow Shimmer. I love to take the side of this brush and sweep it right at the top of my cheekbones. It adds such a good shimmer. I also do it down the center of my nose. Brush is great for that. This brush is also good for contour because it's so precise, and this brush is nice and firm. So if you want a nice soft contour and waving it right into your contour line, it's excellent for that. And fanning it at the bottom, it's almost using it like a fan. Great. What would this be used for? Many companies sell that. Actually, the same thing except for a contour. You can do a soft contour with this, but it's going to be extremely soft because these hairs are just so light. But this is wonderful for a nice shimmer. This right here is a 227 brush. This is a kind of a shorter hair type of a brush from MAC. This right here, if you're in a rush, this brush is great. If you want to do a quick smoky eye, dab that in something dark, put it all over the eye, brush it up, good to go. Also, if you just want to cover more of an area on your eye, this is real good for that. Pop this on and it grabs so much color, so you're going to get more of a pigmented look on your eye. That's what you want, a lot more color. I have a look that I did. I'll show it to you. Brushes like this is really good for that. People want to know, how do you get that so intense, that yellows, those oranges, those reds onto the eye? Well, using a thick brush like this, but not too big because you don't want it all over the eye, and really controlled with your hands and packing colors on with a nice cream base underneath, it'll stick to it and you're going to get an intense look. Brush like this, spoolie. Very good if you want to use it for your mascara to separate the eyes. Mascara, it's really good to, this is how I put my eyebrows on because I really don't have any eyebrows, but I have a video how I do my eyebrows like that, and it just kind of brushes the beginning of the brow to kind of soften out the look. And let me ask you all, have you all seen a brush like this? This is the 205. This is also from MAC. I don't know if you can see it. Hopefully you can. But it's a very faint little fan brush. Almost looks like this. brush, but it's really short. This is great for clients. When you are applying mascara, how you use it is you take your mascara that you've never used on anyone, you haven't used this brush on anyone, and you take this through that, and then you put it through their lashes, top and bottom. Such a beautiful application, and it's sanitary. You clean this off really good, you can use it for your next client. So you don't have to buy a lot of mascara wands, which I buy so many of, because I don't really use this brush a lot, but it is good to use. That's brush 101. I hope that it was helpful to how to use brushes on the eye. I hope I didn't go too fast. And make sure to do your monthly brush check and take care of your health. See you in another video.